Hello my friends, this is Sylvie Curry, Lady of Q, and I'm once again in my kitchen. Today I'm going to be using my Ninja Foodi, and what I'm going to do is cook some spare ribs, rib tips, and rib trim, the end parts. I'm going to do it a little different than suggested by the Ninja Cookbook or based upon any videos I've seen. One of the problems I had was that I did a couple of weeks ago do some ribs using the pressure cooker of the Ninja Foodi and then doing the air crisp. And texture-wise, I was a little put off by the steamed, boiled type texture of the ribs. So I thought, maybe this is a good time to experiment and see if you can get tender ribs, barbecue spare ribs, pork, in the Ninja Foodi without steaming or boiling. My approach to doing these spare ribs in the Ninja Foodi without steam or boiling is that I'm going to look at the Ninja Foodi as an oven. So it'd be like baking or roasting the spare ribs and then getting them tender that way, and then towards the end do the air crisp to get the texture of them correct on the outside. These are the rib trim from some spare ribs that I used in barbecue competitions. I usually don't use the end bones because they're shorter, and I also like to trim my ribs so that they only have 8 or 9 bones in them, so leaving the other bones for trim. I did take the liberty of marinating these in some teriyaki sauce, and these are the bones that I'm going to be using to do this little experiment on cooking spare ribs, pork spare ribs, in the Ninja Foodi without using the pressure cooker setting. So I'm just going to put them in and see how they turn out. I'm trying to use the bone side down and the meatier side up. And I think I may have to put some in on the sides in order to get them incorporated in the basket. I'm going to close the lid and start it up. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to do the bake roast. And I'm going to cook it at something like 350. I'm going to give it 35 minutes to start. These have been going for about 20 minutes now, and I'm going to turn them over. You can see I'm getting a little bit of browning. They look wonderful. One of the things that you'll take note that I did not do in the beginning was I did not preheat the Foodi, and the major reason for that was that I didn't think it was necessary since this is going to be a longer cook. I had it scheduled for like 35 minutes. We're nearly 30 minutes into the cook, and they're actually looking quite good. They're browning a lot faster than I thought, and that's primarily because of the sugar, or the sugars that are in the teriyaki sauce. So what I'm thinking of doing is, because this is an experiment, is I'm going to turn the temperature down in the Foodi and cook it at a much lower temperature. I had it set for 350. I'm going to go for, I think I'm going to go for about 250, 225. We are at the end of the 35-minute cook time I had on these ribs, and I'm going to actually just stick a toothpick in it just to see where we are with the doneness. And there's still resistance. So I'm going to use the old barbecue trick to get them done. I'm going to wrap them. Texas Crutch. Then I'm going to put them back in here on a low temperature until we get them toothpick tender. I'll wrap them in foil. I'm not going to add anything to the foil, because remember, I'm trying to keep them from staining. but I need to get them nice and tender. I'm going to add them back to the foodie. We're going to turn it on. I'm going to put it back on baked roast, but this time for a much lower temp. Let's go back down to that 250. And cook time, I'm going to give it another, let's give it 20 minutes. Now the whole reason for wrapping them is to keep them from getting darker, because I think the color on them is very good. If we need to air crisp it again after we finish this part of the process, we can do that to get a little bit more color. There are a couple of myths in cooking ribs, spare ribs. One of them is that you want them to be falling off the bone. That's a no-no. They should not be falling off the bone. Once they get to that stage, they're actually overcooked. But there's a degree of readiness or doneness you can reach before getting that fall off the bone state. And that is when you can bite into a rib and you can get a clean bite and the meat comes away from the bone, but it's not fall off where when you pick up the bone it just hangs all over the place. That's very important. A lot of times you'll even see trained chefs and even barbecuers out there talking about, I've got fall off the bone ribs, you don't need no teeth to eat my meat, those type of things. We don't want that in our ribs. We want a nice tender rib with lots of flavor and moisture and tenderness, but not falling off the bone. The other thing that I often see when I'm going through some of these YouTube videos are people who boil their ribs. You know what you get when you boil ribs? A very nice pork broth. Yes? When you boil ribs, you're pulling flavor out of that rib into a broth that you're just going to throw away. It is not necessary to get a tender rib through boiling it. That also includes steaming ribs. Steaming is still the process of putting a lot of moisture in there where it pulls out the juices and the flavor of that rib and take away from the overall porkiness that you want. So hopefully through my videos, watching them, you can get an idea of how it is important, at least to me, to not steam a rib, to not broil a rib, and not have a falling off the bone rib, and you can do all that through some basic little processes. Let's see if we've got the doneness that we want. And I'm gonna toothpick it. Now that one little piece is a little, the big piece here is a little tight, not too bad. And these little ones are right on, they're money. Actually, this isn't bad. So what I'm going to do at this stage is I'm going to take these out. I'm going to put them on air crisp for probably no more than 5 minutes for sure. And it's based upon getting the color developed a little bit more. Right now they are a very nice color. We're done. It did go the 5 minutes on air crisp. This teriyaki marinated rib trim. And I've got the end bones of the ribs. We do get some pullback on those so that I know that they're done. And I was a little concerned for this little big piece here. Seems to be doing okay though. So I think I've got the tenderness that I wanted. So what did we do? We did 35 minutes on baked roast at 350 degrees. I lowered the temperature to 250 for another 40 minutes. And then I put it on air crisp for 5 minutes at 300 degrees. The step that I did wrap it in the foil to keep it from burning and getting too dark during the time period that I wanted it to get tender. There was no steam used in this. I did not spritz or spray. I did not have any water in the air fryer. And I just want to show that you can do spare ribs in the Ninja Foodi without pressure cooker and without steam. And you can probably get a nice tender rib. Let's test them out. Got one bone of the ribs. We're going to do a taste. I let them cool off a little bit because they were fairly hot. I wouldn't be able to hold it with my hands if they were still hot. I've got one clean bite. See what I mean? It's tender, bite through, didn't fall off the bone. It's got the flavor I want, the texture I want. That's Ninja Foodi ribs, done without pressure cooking, no water, no spritzing, no steam, just baked roast and then an air crisp. Try it.